A well-designed shelf can really make a beautiful statement in a room, but it also tells a story of who you are. Today I want to talk about how I like to style a shelf. Let's get started. When you're considering what kind of shelf to use in your room, consider what you want to put on the shelf. Shelves like this can be some of the most challenging to style because they're really long and really tall. So the temptation is to fill the space, but then it ends up looking cluttered. So here we want to use large objects and less of them. If you're wanting to display something like family photos or family mementos and use more of them, consider having a shelf that is less tall and less long, and that way you can put things in it and it just provides more visual balance. It's important to lay out everything you have for your shelves. That way you have a good overview of the different size, texture, and color of the things you have, and you can easily grab what you need as you're styling your shelves. So now let's start putting things on our shelves. So to start with, I like to put the larger items on the shelves first, or the visually heavy items. Something like this that's tall, I like to layer something long and narrow in front of it. So I've stacked these books tall and long like this, but as I stand back, I realize that directly underneath them, the art is stacked in the same way, tall and long. So what I'm gonna do is just move it over here so that we don't have two visual shapes stacked right on top of the other. So books are basically an essential for styling shelves. They can stack and you can put things on top of them. So separately, these items would be too small for the shelves, but together it creates enough visual weight. When I step back though, I'm looking at the spine of this book and I don't love how colorful it is. It just draws too much attention, I think. So we can turn books around. However, I feel in this scenario, you either have to do it with all the books or none of the books. So I'm gonna keep it like this and I'm just gonna switch this book out. But it is something to consider, the color of the spines of the book. And also I chose this book for the top because it is in really good contrast and it just makes this beautiful case stand out.
Once you've styled your shelf, it's worth considering the value that you've just put into it. Books, candles, and other ordinary decorative items will already be included as personal property under your home insurance policy. But keep in mind that certain special items, like fine art or collectibles, won't necessarily be included, and you may need to purchase additional coverage for those. And finally, when you're installing your new shelf, make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions to make sure it's properly secured and it can't cause property damage or injury if it might fall. For more information, visit squareoneinsurance.com.
So I'm just finishing up and I'm standing back and looking at the shelves and I'm just looking for balance in color, shapes, and visual weight. What I'm noticing is that I've got both the plants on this side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to swap out this plant and stack of books with this stack of books. This is the den, and in here we chose to display more personal objects like family photos and their book collection. You'll notice that the shelves are blue, and so I didn't display any blue objects. Like in the other room, I didn't display any baskets because it's the same color as the color of the wood. We want there to be contrast so that the objects we're displaying really stand out. Now that we're done, you can see that I've dispersed the items equally. We have an even disbursement of the heavy, larger objects and the color and the books, the groupings. That way nothing stands out on its own, but it creates a unified look. Resist the temptation to evenly place your items on your shelf. You want to keep them in groupings. This item didn't require a grouping because it's large and dark and it holds its weight on its own. The glass vases don't hold as much visual weight because they're clear, even though they're large. So you want to group your items so you can avoid a cluttered look. Now it's your turn. Use the tips and techniques we talked about today to style your shelves. Thanks for watching. See you next time.